Good morning, everyone. Here we are back on the sugar shack, the culture stone job. Everything dried nice overnight. Real quick, 50 little fun fact here, 58% of my viewers are not subscribed. I went back in the channel on the analytics. You can see everything. That's pretty crazy. So you button right here, hit that red button, subscribe. Back to the video. Here we go. So the first thing you want to do is put some marks 3 inches down for your sills. We're going to snap a line there, just so you do not go above with your stone. So that line will be here, and that will be your last stone before your sill comes on, because if you got that too high, you're not going to get that sill in there, and then you'll be cutting and make your life really miserable. So what we got here is, first thing you do is snap lines, put some level lines on all your work, all the way across everything, and this will help you range as you're laying to keep your stones level. I mean, I'm sure you all seen ledge rock laid, you know, gas stations, wherever. It's all across the country. And you see a wave in the wall, or you see stones starting to go down. That's because guys do not put level lines. So if I'm laying a stone in here and there's a line and I lay that stone like that, well, you can see that that's crooked. So if you keep all your stones coming up and you range it with your eye to that line, it'll help you big time. So we're gonna get the rest of the line snapped, and you'll see that in a bit. All right, guys, we got the line snapped. Remember, important, 3 inches for your top of your sill. Do not go above this mark, and we even write sill right on here, just so we remember. And you could space these any which way you want. Some, you know, you can make them closer if it's harder for you to stay level, but the main thing is you do have level lines on there. Snap them with some chalk. And remember, I'm going to remind you all week, right here, hit that button. I got to get up to 150 subscribers. That's the goal this week, so we'll see what happens. All right, so stay tuned. We are going to install the stone. This stone is very difficult to lay. Some ledge rocks are easier, and then obviously other culture stones are easier. The easiest is probably field stone, but if you see these rocks, how everything comes to a point, then you got to come into that rock, you know. So you come into that rock with other rocks and nothing lines up, and even the thicknesses, the heights don't line up, so you have some funniness going on there. So you got to finagle it, and you really got to lay it to make it look real. But this is one of the most difficult ledge rocks that we've come across, this style. And it all goes on quality too. The more you spend on your stone, if you just go and get the cheapest culture stone out there, A, it's gonna look fake, B, it's gonna fade in color, and it's just not gonna look real, you know. And that's the goal for a fake stone, to look real. So this is what I was talking about, the corners yesterday. When we go, that's the first thing you want to install, is your corners. So if you have a return like this with a corner, you see you got that bold look coming off the corner, where if you didn't have that corner, and you just had the wood to the edge, and you installed that, say that was the corner, but over here, look how fake that looks, because it doesn't give you no depth. So with the corners, you're getting the depth look coming around the return. Obviously we're going to fill that in, and you try to fit the corners to go to the end. He may have went a little too far with that, but we'll get it. All right, stay tuned, and we're starting to mix up here. Remember, you want that consistency like a mashed potato, and we'll be back. All right, tools for this job, laying culture stone. You're gonna need a tape measure, you need a trowel, a slicker, and a brick hammer. It's the only tools you'll need after you get your lines snapped and whatnot to lay this stone, and you'll see that in a bit. So first thing, pick a corner that fits already, you know what I mean? It's reaching there just to start out. Put your mud on your stone like so. Make sure you get enough in that corner, because that's the part that really, you know, it's not a 90, perfect 90 there, so you got to get enough. Once you give it one little quick tap, set the stone, don't touch it again. Like if I touch this stone right now, it's going to fall off, and then you have to re-mud it. So basically the way the culture stone works is it's like a suction cup. So once you put your stone on like that, once you get it like this, it's a suction cup. So that is sucking the moisture from the back of my stone into this, which is like a sponge, and it stays. Now if I had to readjust this and move it, you break the seal. Watch. See, it broke the seal, you'll never get it back on. You can go as much as you want, it's not going to do it. So it actually sucks the moisture out of the stone, out of this mud. See how dry it got? Into here, see how wet it got? And that's how that stays. We start from the bottom, you keep your stones clean. See how I got that mud there? Scrape your mud each time, put it back in your bucket. Because when you go to put the next one on, that mud will squeeze out and then it will get down the face. So the cleaner you keep it, the better you're going to be. Because then it starts doing this. You don't want to do that. So keep it clean. In the olden days, we used to go from the top down, but when they come out with the ledge rock, it doesn't work. You got to go from the bottom up. But if you did a field stone pattern, you could go from the top down, which does keep it a little bit cleaner. So we'll get this started. Like I said, first layout, do all your corners. There's going to be cuts going back in here because every corner is different sizes, and you want to reverse your corners every time. So basically, here's a short, here's a long. So you don't want to go along like that. That's a double, you know, that's a double stack. You don't want to do that. You want to put this like this, so it staggers your bond and your joint. So we'll measure this and we'll cut this there, then the cut will go against the wood. Then the next one go like that, then the next one go like that, all the way up. All right, we'll get some progress done. What we got over here, Miko has no cuts to go into, so he can put fulls all the way on each corner, and it's staggered just the way it should be. Once you get her set, get her in, don't touch it after that. She's stuck, she sticks. Otherwise, you keep playing with it too much, you can get the whole wall to shear. But that's why we put these boards in, which obviously come out after the next day, to hold this whole wall from shearing, because it will. You could wedge a rock in there, next thing you know, 20 stones will just drop right out. So got to be very careful. So I lied, there's two more tools that we use. A Sharpie to mark the stones for the corner, and then a grinder with a regular diamond blade to cut. So I'll show you how that works right now. Always cut back your stone like this. Put a taper going back so it doesn't show. So then this cut was for here, so that's going to go like that, and that will be nice. So cut your corners like that, and then the next one of course goes that way with the long tail that way, and then if you get a short one here, you can put a piece of rock there. So you just got to play with it and make it look real, that's all. All right. Unbelievable, it's starting to rain. You know, we're trying to crunch this job in between the other jobs, and it's like whatever. So rain and masonry do not mix. So we're gonna cover up what we got, see check the radar, see what's going on. I got this corner topped out. You can see how we do it. If you got to put a cut in there, you can put a cut in there if it don't reach. Here I can put a little sliver, because it touches here but it doesn't touch there, because that's the stone actually fades up. you could joint that in because it is, you'll see after. But the slicker, once these start to dry up, right now they're a little, sorry. Once these start to dry up, you pull these joints back. Always keep your stones clean like this. The drier this is, the better it is, because see, when it dries, it falls off like that. But when it's wet, it's still a little too wet, but it will stay on the stone, and they don't like to come clean. So wait till this is dry to rake all your joints, but you rake all your joints back once you get enough stone laid and it's nice and dry. The other tip I got was obviously the fan. Blow the dust out of here. It's not good to breathe in. On corners, cheaper stone is worse. The mold, see how that's not a 90? Just take your hammer and clean them up like this. See how that casting's there? I usually do it with the trowel. I hit the trowel on them and shear them off. But make sure to, because if they're bubbled up like that, the stones don't sit right, and then they want to roll off, and then you have bigger joints because some of the castings are up this high. Like I said, the cheaper the stone, the worse it gets. The other pro tip I got is if you see your stones aren't sticking, and you don't know why, they're just not sticking, add a little more water to the mix. And I know that sounds like, oh, they're not sticking, so make it wetter. But yes, it's true. You see all this moisture here? That's pulling out of this stone. That's sucking it out. So when there's moisture in the stone, it has to suck to it. If it's a dry on top of dry, it wants to fall. So give that a shot. You know, obviously if you're a mason, you know this stuff, but this is just trying to do a tutorial for DIY. You know, a lot of people try to do this stuff on their own. So it looks like it's raining. Don't know how much we're gonna get done today. We're gonna go get a coffee and then we'll check back, give you an update. All right, we got everything covered up, tarped up, plasticed up. Says 2-3 hours of rain right now. Not sure what we're gonna do. I hate to waste the day, but it is what it is. This year anyways. All right guys, we didn't give up on the rain. We got a quick clip here. We got a little shelter built. It's raining pretty good. It's gonna rain for the next few hours, but we didn't want to waste the mud. And like I said, we're 40 minutes out of shop, so we are gonna install under this. All right, so we're under the shelter. We're just trying to get this wall up. We got our line snapped. We're just gonna come and meet. He lays over there, I lay here, and we'll meet in the middle and use our lines, and so you don't get a wave in it, you don't get too many little pieces in it. And yeah, I'm just gonna run this mud out. We got a little bit in the barrel and try to, so we don't waste it. As a mason, we do not like wasting mud. All right, well, you will check back. All right guys, we're heading to lunch. Sorry for the lack of tutorial on this, but it's raining out, so tomorrow when it's not raining, I'll get us some time-lapse footage on us doing this. This is just a rough hit on the stone. Obviously all these joints got to get raked back, but with this weather, again, it takes twice as long for it to set and to be raked out. But you can get the idea here. And like I said, this rock here is a difficult rock to lay because everything comes to a point. Everything's points, so it really is not the user friendly to be a mason on this stuff. All right, we'll check back after lunch. We'll get this panel in. We just got to get up to that top red line. Remember, the sills go on here. Contractor just came and he's putting this in there as a drip edge. And we get a sill real quick. Show you how that's gonna go on, because we won't be putting these on today anyways. But these sills, you leave that 3-inch, then those sills go on like so, and then that gets bent down to it, so the water hits that, and then so it'll be like that when it's done. All right, we'll check back. All right, ladies and gents, just after lunch, we just finished that panel. Obviously the sills on top aren't done. That will be tomorrow. Just gonna finish this piece here, then Miko's gonna finish that little return. Then the next day, I mean, the sun's just starting to pop. It's gonna rain. We got about a 2-hour window, so we salvaged this day. Probably won't be a full day, but we're gonna get this. We'll rake it out. I'll give you a final video at the end, but I'm sorry for not letting you know, battle in this rain. We couldn't have the camera out and stuff, but we'll see what I can do here. So basically when you got your corner tooth like this, try to find a stone that's the same height to come off of. So just work a stone like that, that's too high. And then you just hold it sideways like that. Okay, so that's the stone. Put your mud on like this, just like your butter and bread. Place your stone on the bottom, wiggle it, wiggle it, wiggle it. Done, let it go. Same scenario. Find one that fits in there. Boom, boom, boom. That you're happy with. And you can see how this is traveling uphill a little bit from that line versus that line. So you want to use a thinner one. And now I'm going to hit the line there, I'm going to hit the line there, and that will level us out. You're always fighting to be level. Always. Because these stones are always jagged, so you're always fighting to get back to these lines. That's the goal. Then over here you're just going to put your pieces in, you measure, you cut, make sure all your cuts are along this wall so they're hidden. If you can fit one that's full, then more power to you. That's what you want, you know. And you want to try to stay away from a million cuts in a wall. But you just keep working, and instead of putting this like this, you would come over here and then put your piece here, every other one, so the pieces, you don't have pieces going straight up, you know what I mean? You have a piece, the piece will be here, a full, a piece, work it back and forth so it looks right. Hopefully you get a little bit of idea on there. Kind of, like I said, little short panels are a little tougher than big long walls. Because you got to put the pieces in left to right, blah blah blah. This stone is, I'm telling you, a tricky stone to lay. This is our first stone job back in the season. Usually we used to do, I mean, that's all we used to do is stone work until we got in the excavation. But yeah, so it takes it's a puzzle, and it is what it is. Go ahead, you can cut. And so I got that pier up, and I lied about the 3 inches. It's 2.5 inches we got to be here, so we had to go a little bit above the line. 2.5 inches on the sills, so always keep that in mind. And to measure your sills, most of them are about 2 1/4, so we want to leave a little bit at 2.5. 3 was too much. We had too much of a joint. So Miko's getting the rest of this pier, then we'll just knock this out tomorrow. Hopefully we have enough stone. They had a lot of stone left over that is old, like 4 or 5 years old, that was in a box in the woods, so we've been piecing that back together. So that's also a struggle because it's not the same, you know, how the manufacturer changes things up. But the next step is we just let it set for a little bit, rake out all the joints with a slicker, which we probably can over here now. I'll show you what that is like. So let's go down where we're dry. See how this is here? It will come off just like that, and you rake it, pack them in, you know, and joints that are like this, you will put a stone in there. But for the most part, you just rake it clean, make sure it's all full, rake it all out, all the leftover cement, and pack the joints good. Then you hit it with a brush. We like sometimes, like on interior, we hit this all with an air compressor and get all that stuff out just on a fireplace, because you're sitting there staring at it. But you can do a good job with a brush. You just got to take your time, and you don't want to do this when it's too wet, because otherwise you take the brush and then you start painting these rocks with cement and it looks real ugly at that point. And these don't come clean. So that's where we're at. We're probably just gonna, we got an hour before we can start hitting these and cleaning up, and hopefully I have enough battery to give you a shoot on that. And like I said, tomorrow we'll be back to finish. All right, we use that to blow all the joints out after we're raked. At the end of the day here, you see how that corner looks nice and robust. Like I said, it looks thick, like it's going back in. Definitely want to do that to the corners. Got the 3 panels done besides the top sills, which we always do sills at the end after everything is complete. So onto this, we're all set up for tomorrow, and we got a bunch of stone laid out, our spots for the pans, and we're ready to go on that. All we gotta do is snap lines in the morning. I already pulled these all out so the stones can go behind here, so we should be pretty good. Just at the end of the day, make sure you clean all these toothings, all the cement that smushes out, because, you know, if you forget, the next stone ain't gonna sit in there, and then it's hard. Then you gotta try to hit it and beat it, and then you could knock the stone loose. So always clean this all your stones around so we can get back in. All right, we'll see you in the morning.